In the history of the NBA, there's been some players that train just hard enough to get by, and then there's others that train on a legendary level. Over the years, there's been some insane stories of how hard some players really work. In a lot of people's opinions, there's no one that worked harder than Michael Jordan. But after watching this video and hearing these 6 stories, there'll be no doubt in your mind that Kobe Bryant was the hardest worker in NBA history. There's been a countless amount of stories about Kobe throughout his long career that show he's willing to work longer and harder than most players could even imagine. And today we're looking at 6 of the more insane stories. So let's start with number 6, his high school workouts. Kobe's hard work and dedication to basketball was something that he learned at a young age, because by the time he was in high school, he had already had an insane work ethic. Rumor has it that he would wake up at 4:30 every morning and show up in the gym to get to practice at 5 a.m. until he had to leave for school at 7 a.m. And if that wasn't crazy enough, he would make the bench warmers on the team play him in one-on-one games to 100. In Kobe's worst game, he won 100-12. This is sort of something that would carry on to his NBA career, because towards the end, he'd keep young players after practice for hours just so he could practice his new moves on them. Number 5. Jay Williams' story. Jay Williams told a story about how one day him and the Bulls got to the Staples Center for a game against the Lakers at 7 that night. Jay knew he was going up against Kobe and Shaq, so he wanted to be ready. So he decided he was going to get to the court at 3 and put up 400 made shots before the game. So when he got there, surprise, he saw Kobe already training in a full sweat. Jay finished up in about an hour and a half, and when he went to go sit down and unlace his shoes, Kobe was still training, and not just putting up random shots, but practicing full-on game moves. So Jay sat there and watched Kobe continue to train for the next 30 minutes before he just decided to head back to the locker room. Kobe went on to score 40 in a win that night, so Jay said he had to go up to Kobe and ask him why he trained so long and so hard, because he just had to know. So he walked over and asked Kobe why he was in the gym training for so long, and Kobe's response was, "Because I saw you come in and I wanted you to know that no matter how hard you work, I'm willing to work harder than you." Kobe was willing to work as hard as he possibly could to never be outworked, and he let Jay Williams know. It seems like he had the same mindset about outworking Michael Jordan. He worked out so hard throughout his career to be able to say that he outworked everyone, including Michael Jordan, because he wanted to be the best. Number 4, his Team USA workouts. When it came time for the Olympics, Kobe didn't take any breaks. Actually, his workouts during the Olympics got even more intense than they already were in the regular season. Before the 2012 Olympics, Kobe had told his trainer he wanted to start adding more biking into his workouts. So the night that all the players got to Las Vegas for the USA basketball camp the next morning, instead of going to sleep, Kobe went on a 40-mile bike ride through the desert with his trainer and finished at 2 a.m. And of course, he was back in the gym working out with the team at 7:30 that next morning. Blake Griffin said he was obsessed with the story and finding out if it was true and if he could go with Kobe next time he goes. And it didn't stop there. A trainer named Rob, working with Team USA, gave Kobe his number if he ever needed help with any of his workouts. So the night before their first scrimmage, Kobe called Rob at 4:15 a.m. and asked if he could come into the gym to help him with some conditioning work. The trainer got there 20 minutes later to find Kobe alone in the gym, drenched in sweat already. So they did their conditioning and strength training for about 2 hours. When they were done, Rob went home and Kobe went back to shooting. Rob said he went back to his hotel to get any sleep he could before he had to be back at the gym at 11 with the team. He said, "I walked into the gym and saw LeBron talking to Carmelo, Coach K talking to KD, and saw Kobe shooting in the background by himself." Rob said he walked up to Kobe and said, "Great workout this morning. When'd you finish?" Kobe said, "Oh, just now. I wanted to get in 800 makes. So yeah, just now." No telling when he actually got into the gym, but the man had been working out for at least 7 hours before even starting the Team USA practice that was gonna last all day long. Just like he wanted to let Jay Williams know that he was willing to work harder than him, I feel like this was his message to all the top NBA players in the league, that there was no chance that anyone on that team was gonna even come close to outworking him. Number 3, Michael Jordan and Phil Jackson's opinions. In a lot of people's opinions, Michael Jordan was the hardest worker in NBA history. MJ said that Kobe Bryant was the only one that deserves to be compared to him, and that he's put in the work to deserve that. But in an interview with Phil Jackson, someone asked if Carmelo Anthony should model his game after Kobe, and Phil said nobody should ever model their game after Kobe Bryant because he trains harder than anyone ever, including Michael Jordan. He said Jordan wouldn't be happy about him saying that, but he worked with both players and watched them train, and he knows for a fact that Kobe trains harder. Number 2, Byron Scott's story. Back when Byron Scott used to play for the Lakers in Kobe's rookie season, he said practice was at 11, but one day he decided to get there at 9 or 9:30 for rehab. But when he got there, even though the lights weren't on, he heard a ball bouncing. He got a closer look and saw that Kobe Bryant had been in the gym shooting in the dark. No word on how long he'd actually been there before Byron got there, but when he did get there, he said he just stared at Kobe shoot for about 10 seconds and said to himself, "This kid's gonna be great." The fact that he was doing this as a rookie really says a lot about how hard he really worked throughout his career. And number one, Kobe Bryant's work outside of basketball. Even off the court, his hard work towards success never ends. Even now that he's retired, he's talked about how he randomly just calls random entrepreneurs to pick their brains and ask questions that might be simple to them, but it's about stuff that he doesn't know. Kobe said he has an obsession about learning business and that sometimes he just texts successful businessmen at 3 a.m. for random questions. A specific time was when a billionaire investor, Chris Sacca, told Kobe he needed to do his homework on business. So from that point on, for the next couple of months, Sacca said his phone never stopped ringing, even in the middle of the night. Kobe was either texting him about an article, a TED Talk, or any question he had about what he was studying. He said for that few months, it seemed like Kobe's studying never stopped. And at one point, he'd even get texts at 2 or 3 in the morning, so his wife had to ask him if he was having an affair with Kobe. So there it is. Kobe Bryant was obviously obsessed with working harder than anybody else in the world, and he did just that. He was obsessed with being the best, and he put in the work to get there. It makes you think about how good he would have actually been if he would have just trained on the same level as all the other NBA players. But before watching this video, if there were any doubts in your mind about who the hardest worker in NBA history was, I'm sure your mind's probably changed at least a little bit by now. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next video.